Saturday View with Ronan Berry. With thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. lumcloonenergy.com. Call 0818 300 103. Text or WhatsApp your Saturday View to 083 3010 103.
Hello and a very good morning to you all on what has been a very blustery and windy Friday night into Saturday morning. Hopefully where you are, power is being restored. We're getting a good few notifications in to say that power is coming back in certain areas, but a quick look at powercheck.ie shows you that the picture across the Midlands is quite stark and quite grim. Many faults being reported and logged. Nationally, over 400,000 houses without power at present. But as I say, DSB are working hard to restore as much power as they can as quickly as possible. So if you have something you would like to let the people of the Midlands know about this morning, if there's an event that has been postponed or cancelled because of the weather, give us a shout here. We're happy to put that notification out on air. Or if there is a road or a particular area that people should be cautious around or avoid, let us know. 083 3010 103 is the text and WhatsApp number, or you can get us on the phone to 0818 300 103. In a few moments we will have an update from Alan O'Reilly of Carlow Weather, just exactly about the current status of Storm Dara and what we might expect over the next 12 to 24 hours. That orange weather alert was to lift at 10 a.m. this morning, and it was almost biblical because the sun just seemed to come out at exactly 10 a.m. here around Tullamore and County Offaly, so maybe there's something in that, but we'll get the overall overview of what might be happening anyway. As I'd say, many of you are going outside just to have a look out and see what, if any, damage has been done around your area. But anyway, to keep you company for the next hour, lots coming up for you on Saturday View. Later on, I'll be talking to Midlands MEP Kieran Malooly. He has been vehemently opposing the EU-Mercosur trade agreement that was signed off this week. And the new European Commission is starting off with a bang, as is reported in one national newspaper, saying that on Monday in Brussels there is a major protest being planned by farmers and environmental groups because this trade deal has been agreed, and of course there are two sides to all these arguments. On one side, it will open up the South American market for so many Irish businesses, but it's a two-way street, so it also opens up the market for things like beef, and that's where a lot of focus has been, that beef, maybe without the same quality brand as Irish beef, will be allowed flood the European market, so hence why there's been a lot of objection to that from an agriculture perspective, but right across the political spectrum across Europe too. So we'll talk to Kieran later on and get the latest on that. Also, you'll hear the lovely story of a charity shop local to us here, and they've opened up a little feature in their shop maybe in the last year, and it really is, it's a lovely place to go. It's a place to sit and reflect, but you can pick up some absolutely top class Christmas presents for a song, as they would say too. So we'll learn a little bit more about that in the middle of the show this morning. And one person just texted in there as well, so there's a tree on the road on the left hand side coming to the Mealhans, going to the Mealhans. That must be coming outbound from Tullamore as well, so thank you for that. So if you're heading on the Mealhans road there out of Tullamore, just be careful, there is a tree down. Thank you for that message as well. So keep your messages coming in, we'll get them out across the airwaves over the next hour. But we're going to start off this morning with a story that really kind of caught my interest yesterday, and I think it's a lovely one to start off this morning's show on. And I kind of teased it out with Aidan Barry there just before we came on air, that a fifth Irish cultural practice has been added to the UNESCO list of protected cultural heritage, and that now comes after hurling, uilleann piping, Irish harping and Irish falconry. So what is the fifth item to be added to that list? Well, believe it or not, it is dry stone wall construction. So to learn about more about this and why it's been given such a huge status, I'm delighted to be joined by Kenneth Curran. Kenneth is an anthropologist, an archaeologist and a dry stone waller, and he has a small stonecraft business in Cloughjordan in County Tipperary. And Kenneth joins me now. Very good morning, Kenneth.
Very good morning to you.
I really hope all is well around Cloughjordan anyway this morning. The phone lines are still working, which is the main thing from our side.
Yeah, no, very similar to what you said yourselves around Tullamore. We had a bit of sunshine appeared just right on key, and our power was back. We had power lost during the night, but our power is back, which is fantastic. Fair play to these bee crews out there. They're doing a great job.
Absolutely, they were flying around this morning when I was on my way in as well. But a huge week for yourselves and for everybody involved with the Dry Stone Wall Association of Ireland, because this UNESCO recognition, it's significant to say the least.
Yeah, it is. It's very significant, and it's very exciting, like you said, for the communities around the country that practice it. Because I suppose the recognition, and you mentioned some fairly prestigious Irish activities like our wonderful game of hurling and harping, but it's very significant in the sense that it's acknowledging the knowledge. It's the knowledge and the intangible part of the practice that's been recognised. So that precious gift that we have here, that we've had since the Stone Age, since we've ever been forming communities in Ireland. We've been building dry stone structures, so it's been part of what we do and who we are for that long. So to value it as an intangible part of our cultural heritage at UNESCO level is just fantastic.
And say when we talk about dry stone construction, many people probably think of the walls we see, particularly in certain areas of the country, and they probably immediately spring to mind. But our existing two UNESCO World Heritage sites in Bruna-Boyne in Meath and Skellig Vaheel in Kerry, they're actually of dry stone construction too. So it's not just the little walls we might see on agricultural land.
That's right. That's right, and part of our submission, there was 4 other countries along with ourselves who have been inscribed in this instance this week. Prior to that, there was another 8 in Europe who initiated this intangible cultural listing with UNESCO, sorry, I've lost my train of thought here.
You were just mentioning how there was, I suppose, it's not just Irish dry stone construction either. It's other countries involved.
Yes. What we were talking about was the term construction. Actually, is what I was going to refer to. Previously, the listing was referred to as walling, and of course, like you mentioned, as walls. We all know the beautiful landscapes across the west of Ireland and the Aran Islands, but it's structures as well, like the beehive huts of the Skelligs. The great passage tombs of the Boyne Valley, the Iron Age fortifications along our coastlines. So the range is vast of the different types of structures that are built in dry stone. And I guess the change of the name to construction from walling acknowledges that.
And of course it is. So it's exactly as it says it does. It's a structure or wall has been built using only stone. So no mortar, no concrete as well. So what's the secret to it?
Well, I think that's exactly the point. I think the knowledge is the secret. I think the craft itself has a few basic principles that builders will adhere to, that they will always try to implement first. Things like making sure that they get points of contact with the stone, and that the shape of what they're doing is working with gravity. And that they're building in a way that is durable. So I guess that's the key to it, and that knowledge that's here in our culture that's been here for so long, it's often transferred out in the field or on site. Doing things together. It's not necessarily something that you can learn from a book. So I suppose that's the key thing to it is learning by doing it together and keeping that knowledge, and that's a big part of it.
And the UNESCO meeting, it actually took place in Paraguay, and to have Ireland's practice of dry stone construction added it's a major achievement, because for yourselves in particular, it's not something that began last month. You've been working on this for well over 5 years at this point.
Ourselves in Dry Stone Wall Association, it's been nearly a 7-year process, but I think for the communities around the country that are involved in practicing dry stone and in promoting it and preserving the practice, it's been an even longer journey. I mean, there's the festival on the Aran Islands, which has been running since 2007, run by the local authority, Heritage Office in County Galway, and the co-op on the island, and other masons and farmers as well, keeping the practice alive. So I suppose it's been a long journey here, but it's exciting because I guess for a lot of us it feels like it's the beginning of something which is going to grow, because there's the international aspect to it as well, as I mentioned, and there's connections now being formed between ourselves and our friends and neighbours in Europe, because all the countries listed so far are all European countries. So the networking and the knowledge sharing at international level, and the growth of an international community as well, is something which is really exciting.
When you look at those countries like Ireland, France, Switzerland, Spain, Greece, Slovenia, Croatia, Italy, and Cyprus, you can begin to see like how it dates back all those thousands of years, and there's always that early movement of people across the continent, and it's fantastic that kind of chain and those relationships build. But on a local level, what does it do for Ireland, for dry stone construction, and for yourselves as a group?
I guess it's going to bring, and it already has done. I guess it's going to bring support, financial support, and help from the state, both through funding schemes, to help the practitioners to continue to practice and to evolve it, because any intangible cultural heritage element will always adapt with the current cultural climate, and change in order to survive. So dry stone is probably more relevant now than it has been for quite some time, in terms of it's a very, very appropriate when it comes to biodiversity, climate change mitigation, elements like that. So I guess in that sense, yeah.
Does it change the status of, say, like of a dry stone wall then, in terms of being almost a protected structure, or was that already in place?
I think though the tangible elements of it themselves, we have lots of protections for those, and I suppose it depends on what context the wall in which it existed. Is it in a protected landscape? Is it part of a monument? Is it dated to an ancient period, and those kind of things? So I suppose to add to that the value of the practice, I think it probably reinforces the protection of the structures themselves, because I guess once we have the knowledge to maintain and repair them, and we value that, and we continue to invest in that, the structures themselves are only going to benefit. So like, I suppose our perspective and our value, I suppose, is going to grow from this, I would hope, for the structures themselves. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, it's a significant recognition, to say the very least, and undoubtedly, the output of a huge amount of work by yourselves and the fellow members of the Dry Stone Wall Association of Ireland. So congratulations to you all, and Kenneth, thank you so much for taking time out this morning to talk to us on Saturday
Thanks
View.
a million. Great to talk to you. Thanks for having me on.
An absolute pleasure too. So there you go. Irish dry stone construction has been added to that UNESCO list of protected cultural heritage too. So it's, let's say, a huge amount of work goes into that, and involved collaborating with 9 different countries. But that dry stone wall that we see around so many parts of the country and right across the Midlands here, and particularly in certain spots, but not just walls, but those actual beehive huts, the likes of the passage tombs up in the Boyne Valley, so many ancient structures that all use that method. Well, it is firmly protected now, and thanks to Kenneth for taking time out this morning to come on and talk about that. Kenneth is a dry stone waller from Cloughjordan in County Tipperary. Time now to get a quick update on just exactly what's happening across the Midlands from a weather perspective. So delighted to be joined by Alan O'Reilly from Carlow Weather. Very good morning, Alan.
Good morning indeed.
I suppose your thoughts on last night. Dara certainly arrived with force, particularly lots of people around the Midlands, I think after midnight, lost power. Now, few have been restored, but say many people without. But was it a bit rougher than we were expecting?
Well, it was as rough as expected in some areas. The weather stations, the official weather stations, actually show lower gusts than maybe many were expecting, because there was only one official weather station that reached the red gust criteria, which was Mace Head at 141 kilometres an hour, but no other official weather station went over 130 kilometres an hour. But still a very rough night. Garteen top gust in the Midlands that we have is 111 kilometres an hour, and that was at midnight last night. And there was a number of gusts then over 100 kilometres an hour. So the duration of the strong winds, I think, was the biggest issue in terms of causing power outages and trees down, because it wasn't as if it blew through over 1 hour. It continued. Actually, I just see Garteen still gusting to 90 kilometres an hour in the last hour. So it's still very rough out there. It's still very windy, and the winds will be very, very slow now to ease off. They will ease off, and we're back to a yellow warning from an orange warning that expired at 10 a.m. But it is still a very rough morning out there, and there's a lot of trees down, and there's a lot of debris on the roads. And obviously, as you say, there's over 400,000 were without power this morning. ESB crews will be updating. So a lot of people messaging me saying that it says 5 o'clock on their ESB restoration time. That's the default time until they assess the damage, and then they update it with a real estimated time. So don't rely on the 5 o'clock. It could be sooner or it could be longer. But it is going to get cold as well. So I think my main message on this morning would be, if you have elderly, relatives or friends, and they don't have power, check in and make sure that they can stay warm.
Absolutely. Well, I know even from our own perspective there, we lost power about 12:30 this morning. And yes, the power check about 2 hours ago was saying 5 p.m. It was then updated, and actually the power has been restored. So, as you say, I think it's a good piece of advice for people. The 5 o'clock, just be conscious. It may not be assessed yet, and check in on your relatives. The yellow warning, what's that likely to bring us maybe over the next 12 or 24 hours?
Yeah, it's up until 3 o'clock, and it's really just going to be still strong winds. It's going to be very windy. There is some heavy showers as well. There will be some bright spells, and the rain will be showery. It'll kind of come and go, so it's not going to be a huge amount of rain, but the showers that come will be heavy, and the wind's really slow to ease. It'll be tonight really before they ease off. But the good news is tomorrow will be a much better day. Still very breezy, but not as windy as now, and good sunny spells and dry. So things are improving, Ron, but just very slowly improving. And I think, if you don't need to be out and about there for another couple of hours, ease off, let it ease off more, because there's going to be weakened structures and branches and stuff, and it's going to take people time, the councils and different services time to get things cleared, and to make sure everything is good to go again.
Yeah, but if things are easing off a little bit and it brightens up and does become a bit drier, it'll all help in that effort to get everybody reconnected again. Alan O'Reilly, as always, thank you so much for your updates as well, and stay safe for the rest of the weekend.
Thanks very much. Take care.
That's Alan O'Reilly there from Carlow Weather. Time now for a quick break. After that, we're going to find out about a lovely kind of little side venture that an Offaly charity shop has undertaken. It's not a new venture, but they've really put a lovely twist on it ahead of Christmas. And we will get into the meat of the EU-Mercosur trade deal. No pun intended there. So right now across the Midlands, it is heading for about 7 degrees. Talk to you in just a couple of moments.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumclume Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumclumeEnergy.com.
Still to come on Saturday View this morning, I'll be speaking to Midlands MEP Kieran Malooly about that new trade agreement that was signed by the European Commission this week. Already on Monday morning, there is a major street protest planned in Brussels by mainly farmers and environmental groups against the idea of the trade deal put in. But we'll examine that in more detail too and see exactly what the main objections are. Look at some groupings maybe that are very much in favour of it and look at why it's coming in. I mean, it's been talked about for quite a long time now, but signed off recently. But before that, it is a season of giving and maybe looking for great gifts or great presents. And you know what? We watched things like the toy show last night. If you have young kids or if you're in that demographic of people who are purely forcing your kids to watch it because of your own nostalgia or wherever you sit on it, it's such a huge event and it generates such huge publicity. And in fairness to it as well, their appeal generates millions upon millions of euro for charity, because that's something that as Irish people we do really, really well. Well, you can combine all those kind of ideas together. And one thing you could do if you're looking for some great gifts for people, I mean, you can never really go wrong with a good book. Well, Vincent's shop in Tullamore, they've opened up a beautiful bookshop there. And to find out more about it, I'm delighted to be joined in studio by manager Ian Deering. Very good morning, Ian.
Good morning, Ronan.
You made it in safely anyway.
I did. Didn't get blown away, thank you.
That's it. And just at 10 o'clock, the sun just seemed to come out and it has certainly brightened things anyway. But this bookshop that you've added to the Vincent shop in Tullamore, it started, was it earlier this year or late last year?
March this year we opened the bookshop. It was an idea that we had for a while. We had a space that wasn't really productive, and it's on the 3rd floor. So not too many people, when they venture into any shop, go up to the 3rd floor, and we said we needed to make it that bit more productive, and to create a kind of a library space was really what we did, and it's worked out really, really well for us.
I suppose you would have had furniture then that's coming into the shop too, so you've actually created it's almost like that little third space they used to call it. It's the Starbucks. You can go in and sit down and just chill for a while.
There's a couple of comfy chairs up there. There's a nice atmosphere. And there's a clock just to tell you the time in case you forget to go home, and one or two have done. But it holds about 4,000 books, and we are so grateful to the amount of people that donate books to us to be able to fill that space and to keep the volume turning over. And since March this year, we've sold about 15,000 books.
Wow.
Now, if you compare that to us last year in the same sort of period, we might have sold about 1,000 books. That's a huge amount of books that are circulating, being recycled in the environment, and it's just great. It's great.
Yeah, and some of those books could be on their third, fourth, maybe fifth cycle. Because,
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing nicer than picking up a book that you know 4 or 5 people have read, and you can see the pages where they've been turned down, and you might see somebody's name where they've given it as a gift to somebody else. I enjoyed this, you might enjoy it.
Yeah, people actually, it'd be nice to stick your own message into it too. So, but giving people that chance to come in, then sit down, sample a bit of a book, then purchase, they can always bring it back then themselves and just keep that.
It is
circulating
often
going.
that half the books that come back in through the door still have our stickers on them from where somebody has bought them 2 or 3 weeks beforehand and brought them back in.
So recently, you put up a little Christmas ad, just kind of showcasing the bookshop and what you have on site there as well. Really, when it comes to Christmas gifting, then you've kind of elevated that again. You've come up with some really nice ideas of bunching books together. Take us through some of the things that you're doing.
Well, I mean, the first thing we do is we're very, very lucky that we get in some really nice students from all of the schools in town, and we're always trying to find things to keep them busy. So this year we decided that we would do an Advent pack of books. And the students would get together and to put together 24 books. So rather than your traditional Advent calendar, we had a pack of books that a parent or a guardian can sit down and read a book every night to their children in the lead up to Christmas. And the last 3 or 4 books in there would be a Christmas themed book. But obviously the books will last forever. But they'll come back into it. And it's just a really nice way to take children into the story of reading books. And I think it's very, very important that as young people, they start to read. We're so used to being on devices and tablets, etc. But to be able to sit down and lose yourself in a book, it'll always be there. And like last night when we've had a power cut, you know, what can you do when the power is gone? But, you know, get out the torch and read a book.
And that's one of the.
This is one of the packs
you have.
do.
Like, yeah, I mean, it's a substantial.
It's a substantial pack, and €6 run.
Yeah,
you know?
And just supposed to bear in mind for listeners, like they're not little small kind of letter-sized books, you know, with 5 or 10 pages. They're quite substantial. I mean, as it sits in front of Ian, it's a good 10 inches high. Like, so it's a decent pack of books. How much are they retailing for then?
Well, we sell it for €6.
Okay,
24 books, €6. I mean, you can't go wrong. And then on top of all that, all the books in our shop are on a 3 for 2. So you can pick up 3 of these packs and only get them for €12.
It's no surprise that you're selling up to 15,000 a year as well. But I suppose behind it all too, the service, there's a clear need for it out there too.
There is
and
a fantastic, there is a huge need.
Yeah.
You know, every year the demands, they stay the same, but they just seem to get greater. And, you know, the service is always under pressure. And we can't do the work that we do without the support of the community. And we like to think that we have a community shop, we have a community space, people can come in, they have a really nice environment to shop in. I'm blessed with some really, really wonderful people in the team. You know, I have volunteers, I have CE workers and TUS workers, and they've been with me for years, and they're fantastic. And they really look after the people when they come in, and nothing is any trouble to them. They will always find a solution for somebody.
The scale of the problem, though, does it exacerbate as we approach the Christmas season? Does it put that extra pressure on people, or is it something that throughout the year there are challenges for many people in our community?
The challenge is there every month. There's the additional pressure of Christmas because people have expectations of all the things that Christmas brings. You know, they want to be seen to be generous. And it's hard to be so when you're under pressure financially. But those financial pressures are there throughout the year. And, you know, the shop is there to support the work of St. Vincent de Paul. It raises funds. You know, essentially, we're just like anybody else with a bucket, shaking it on the street, looking for, you know, donations of cash. But we like to be able to think that we're providing a service, doing it at the same time. But all that work gets reprocessed back into Tullamore and the Offaly area.
Fantastic, you know, and again, huge. I said 3 floors at this point as well, and
3 floors
culminating
and
in that
a second shop on Patrick Street, which is predominantly a fashion shop, and both very different markets. You know, we get a younger market on Patrick Street. We get a lot more younger customers coming in there, but we're now starting to bring some of those round to our Offaly Street store because, you know, we have a great selection of teen fiction, and lots of graphic novels and anime novels and all of those which attract the younger market, which is great to have them in.
Absolutely, and opening up their eyes, maybe somebody who might have come across those type of books before as well. So really,
when you go into a charity shop and you're browsing through second-hand books, right, and there's thousands to choose from, you'll pick up an author that you've never read before, and suddenly it could be a new lifelong favourite, and you'll go looking for them again.
And at that price range as well, I mean, something you can dip into, and you can always say bring it back and have somebody else rebuy it then again.
You can't go wrong when you spend €2 or €3 on a book.
Absolutely, no, it's a great idea, a great concept. And if anybody's listening, and if you're around Tullamore or you're travelling to Tullamore over the next couple of weeks to do a bit of shopping as well, pop into the Vincent's bookshop. They're up on the 3rd floor, and have a look for yourself. As Ian said, they can stock up to 4,000 books, and by all accounts, it sounds like there's a big turnover of items there too. So well worth, if you want to get away from the hustle and bustle for half an hour, you know where to go now. Ian Deering, thank you so much for that this morning. And
Roland, thank you.
An absolute pleasure as well. Time now for another short break. After that, we're going to look at the new EU trade agreement, the Mercosur deal that has met much opposition and resistance, in particularly from farming groups.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. lumcloonenergy.com.
Time to give you a reminder of the Midlands 103 Advent calendar. For today, 7th of December, there is a fantastic €100 voucher for CL Tool Hire and Sales in Mullingar Business Park. How do you get involved and try to win that prize? Well, there's one way to do it and one way only. Go on to midlands103.com, click on the Advent calendar, and you can enter today's competitions. CL Tool Hire and Sales in Mullingar, they stock all sorts of tools and brands like DeWalt, Milwaukee, Husqvarna, Carhartt, Snickers, JCB Workwear, and much, much more. So get on their website at toolshop.ie and check out midlands103.com if you want to be in a chance of winning on today's Advent calendar. And the winner will be announced on air later on Midlands 103 today. Now, after that, now we're going to go and look in a bit more detail at the new EU-Mercosur trade deal that has been signed off by the European Commission. Already we know there are significant street protests planned for Brussels for Monday morning, predominantly led by people from the farming and agricultural sector, but also by environmentalists. And one person who has been very, very much opposed to the signing of this agreement is Midlands-Northwest MEP Kieran Malooly. Very good morning, Kieran.
Good morning, Ron. Good morning to your listeners.
Kieran, you've really clearly outlined your feelings on this across social media, in national media too, about the trade deal. It has been, received on one side. I see Chambers Ireland actually released a statement yesterday welcoming the deal because it opens up a trade corridor with a significant market in South America. But like any good motorway, it goes two ways. What are your main objections to it?
Well, I'll come back to the Chamber statement in a moment, Ron. First thing I want to say is maybe for the benefit of listeners to get this into a nutshell of what we're talking about here. We're talking about trading. We're talking about doing business. That's the nature of your show, and your listeners know what a lot of the time what business is about. So anyone in business will tell you that in the first instance, when you win business, holding on to it and growing that business is probably the easier side than trying to look for more new business. Holding on to good business, getting the word around, increasing the market with the business people you have is good business, and it's probably the easier side than going out searching for new business and new customers. Now, we have an Irish beef sector which has proven its ability to sell around the world. It's a huge business. 90% of our beef is going abroad. We're all over Europe. We're known for the quality of our product, and it's there and it's been successful. So what's happening? Mercosur is opening the doors for the people, the industry in Argentina, in Brazil, Paraguay and Uruguay to come in here for the first time at very decent tariffs, in other words, decent levies against them, to trade against us. Now, there is hundreds of people in your area this morning in Laois, Westmeath and throughout Offaly who are employed in the beef sector. The farmers, first and foremostly, who've been working hard to turn around their animals, get them into the market, keep them in good shape, look after them environmentally and health-wise. And the factory workers, the Glanbias, the key packs, the Irish meat. We have people, thousands and thousands of people involved in that trade. And what are we doing in Europe at the moment? What did von der Leyen do yesterday when she went to Uruguay? She turned around and said, listen, I'm not particularly worried about the Irish beef sector and the Irish beef farmers. I think there should be an opportunity for the German car industry and others to sell the other way into Uruguay and into Argentina and let two-way traffic open up. Now, to me, this is unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. We have good trade, we have good jobs, we have hundreds and thousands of family farms involved in the beef sector, and we're pulling the rug from under them, and we have to do something to stop it or curtail it in the coming days.
Is that the key point, that it's from a EU perspective, they're not looking at the agriculture, the beef part, they're looking at pharmaceuticals, chemicals, car manufacturing as well, and particularly at a time where across Europe, if you go beyond our shores and even to the UK, which I know is not in Europe, but if you go further than that as well, there's nothing but like political turmoil and instability across the continent too. So is Irish beef, dare I say, being the sacrificial lamb in this one?
It is most certainly the case, and we have known about this for some time. During the European Parliament election, we had this debate time and time again, and Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and government told us they were defending our farmers. But I have to say, there's a lot of talking to both sides of the mouth on this. There's a lot of people who are rubbing their hands together and saying, we are looking for new customers, we are going to start up. And the Chamber is doing what the Chamber has to do for its own members when they say that the market is there. But there's a couple of things we have to acknowledge. It's going to be extremely hard for anybody going into trade in the Mercosur countries. Why? Look at the basic things going above this situation. For starters, the regulatory setup in these South American countries is very difficult. There's a very low English proficiency. There's a language issue. There's a cultural issue. Their alliances are with the Spanish and with other countries for historical reasons. These are the alliances they have. They don't have alliances with Ireland. It's going to be very, very tough to build them up. So we're being sold short in this scenario, and I am bitterly disappointed with our government. I'm bitterly disappointed that our government has not gone to seek more allies. That's what this is about. We need to put together a blocking group in Europe to come forward and stop Mercosur or curtail it. And there was indications that we had a good start, Med. The Polish came out and they supported this. The Austrians with us. The French, obviously, huge French farming sector. But I'm very disappointed that our government have not come forward in Ireland and gone after other areas, such as the Italian government. I mean, I know there's a car sector in Italy as well, but in the north of Italy, there's a significant farming population too that are well aware of this. There's indications that the Italian government is split on the issue. One minister spoke against Mercosur already. Well, Simon Harris or Micheál Martin should be in Rome today, firming up that opposition, getting them back to Brussels next week, where I am today, and getting stuck in with the sleeves up instead of being involved in some charade of a government formation talks process at the moment.
Are there any indications then that the final terms of this agreement, is it signed off now, or is there scope for individual sectors, individual industries, even individual products, given that with things like Origin Green, if Irish beef has such a worldwide reputation, can it be protected within the terms and conditions, do you know?
This is the critical issue, Ron. I asked the Commission a month ago in a written parliamentary question here to go down through the impact assessment that had gone on with regard to the deal. It was an impact assessment. Do we know what is sort of a surveillance is going to be on this meat and these products coming in? And we know what Irish farmers have to go through in the factories and elsewhere at the moment in terms of high quality food safety. But, we also know that in South America, they're still using growth promoters and hormone supports in animals. We know that. So is this the stuff that's going to come back into our food chain in Europe? We've asked for reassurances. There was 2 lines yesterday from von der Leyen about safeguards. We're going to have to see an awful lot more on in the coming days. If the European Commission thinks we're going to roll over on this, then they're badly mistaken. Because in independent Ireland, we will block this every stage we can. We will be a thorn in their side, both at the European Parliament level. Michael Fitzmaurice will be joining me here on Monday morning outside the gates to bring that message to von der Leyen. But we're also arguing that this deal must go back to the Dáil at Dublin. It can't be split in terms of an arrangement. And our own Dáil, our own Parliament, every member of that Parliament is entitled to have a say. We might be a small number of people out around in Europe. We're only 14 out of the 700 MEPs. But at the same time, we have friends. Don't be thinking that we're on our own on this. The Polish are there, the French are there, and individually there's other countries still supporting us on this. We're going to have to fight it. It's very simple. Are we going to let farmers in Offaly, Laois and Westmeath go out of business? The number of stock is going down already. We know there's a stock decrease in the area. Now they propose they're going to rely on South America for beef. It's absolutely disastrous. It's also a disaster for food security in Europe. We've learned anything over the last couple of years. We need to bolster our own food security, not be relying on our food source, not be relying on anybody else. So there's a tough battle ahead, but we have to put our shoulder to the wheel and we have to shout stop in the coming days.
After almost 2 decades of negotiations, people in favour will say that it opens up a combined market of 780 million people. It will slash tariffs between the different jurisdictions and all that. If you're an Irish machinery manufacturer, maybe agricultural machinery manufacturer, would you look at this deal a bit differently, do you think?
Listen, I can see what the Chamber said earlier, and I can see that point of view you're putting. And they're right, there will be opportunities in the coming year. But when we looked at this in detail as a government, the government asked the Department of Enterprise and Trade to actually analyse this deal 3 years ago when it came up the first time. And in the very first page of the executive summary, they made it very clear the 3 critical issues that are there. It's a low price domestic market in the Mercosur countries in the first place. It'd be difficult for Irish farms to be competitive there. They made it very clear. The existing exports to the Mercosur countries are mainly targeted to the high income segments. Now, how we're going to get into that from day one is very, very difficult. I mentioned already the language barriers and the cultural barriers. It's going to be so much easier for them to do trade with Spanish and other countries, and that's what they're going to deal with. And when it comes to the high income areas, the German car trade has a hell of a bigger budget to go after a trade in South America than us. Let's be straight about it. We're up against it in terms of trading in the opposite direction. Yes, we can build over a period of time, but the problem is if we're losing between 45 and 55 million euro in beef exports in year one, if this deal goes through, it's a disaster for Irish farming and for our employment in our factories.
Yeah, we currently export almost 556 million in goods and services to the Mercosur countries, Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay and Bolivia, and import about nearly 600 million in goods also. So it's not as if there is no trade there at present and this is only going to open up those doors. There's clearly a lot of hard work being done already. And yes, the IFA have been very critical, particularly when it came to the looks and when they audited the Brazilian controls around female cattle meat and controlling particularly hormones and that. They found the controls to be ineffective. So it's not that these concerns are just being put out there. These are actually being showcased to be true as well. But what happens on Monday? What do you think will Monday's protest, what are they likely to achieve, and what do you think the next logical step is?
Well, the fact is she may have signed a deal last week, but the fact is von der Leyen must Parliament and the Council here for the support now. And she has left an awful lot of MEPs very angry about the situation. Last week, the Trade Commissioner refused to come before the Agriculture Committee. Openness in the Parliament under treaties means they must do this. They didn't do it. They gave the 2 fingers to our committee last week. So there's a lot of anger there inside the Parliament. And I can tell you, I'm in Brussels this morning. I'm meeting some of the farming groups here today who are coming in. And I can tell you that they are furious and they are going to use every trick they can and every tactic they can in terms of dealing with the situation. And they will. The organisation like the IFA have friends out here. Copa Cogeca, the European farming organisations, will be mounting their own protest on Monday morning. It's not just Ireland that are against this. There are lots of countries and lots of farmers throughout Europe who've worked hard to establish these markets and are not going to give them up handy overnight, and certainly not give them up to rogue traders as they see them coming from South America with varying degrees of health and safety in the product. So, ultimately it'll be a lobbying process. The message will go to the Parliament, but the vote will come. The vote will come, and Irish MEPs will have to stand up and be counted. But there is a margin there. There will be. I estimate at the moment there's already 30 to 40% of opposition. If that can go up any higher in the coming weeks, I think there's a significant chance of stalling it again. It won't be easy. There's no doubt about it. The German persuasion and the German influence is huge on this one. I'm sure at the back of von der Leyen's mind is the state of the alien car industry and all of this. But at the end of the day, she's supposed to be representing all of us in Europe. Her job and her mandate was to improve the competitiveness of Europe. But what do we do in our first instance? We bring in the South American beef industry into the start to give them a hand to run across Europe. So it's going to be a lobbying case. It's going to be a case of changing minds and persuading people. And then the paperwork will start, because it's stand by for thousands and thousands of pages of detail of the deal, in terms of the tariffs, in terms of the so-called compensation deal. But Ronan, I think most farmers listening to you this morning will say we're not interested in the compensation. Farmers want to produce food and sell it and be paid for it. That's what they want. They don't want to be compensated for this continuous carry on, because compensation fades out and dies. That's what happens eventually. It reduces and reduces as time goes on. Farmers know that. They want instead to be left alone to rear their animals bring them to the market, get a decent price and make a living and be able to sell that product in Europe. And that's what von der Leyen is threatening to take away.
Kieran Mullooly, thank you so much for that this morning. And Kieran Mullooly, of course, is a Midlands-Northwest MEP and is in Brussels at the minute. As he said, there will be joining that protest on Monday morning. So let me know what you think. 083 30 10 103. That deal has been in negotiation for almost 2 decades, but seemed to be just finally signed through there this weekend. And it seemed to almost, dare I say, come out of nowhere. And against the backdrop of maybe potential threats and trade threats from the US when Trump takes office and all that. But lots of focus coming on the fact that some other previously very strong European economies are not exactly in the best of health at this point in time. But very contentious, very controversial trade agreement. What happens next? Well, let's see what happens on Monday, and undoubtedly something that we can follow up and do more on Midlands Today, taking care of business and country life throughout the week on Midlands 103. So big thanks to Kieran this morning for taking the time out to come on. I've had a question from a listener there just asking about where is the bookshop that I was speaking to Ian Deering about earlier. It's in the Vincent shop in Tullamore. It's on Offaly Street. So if you know where the new Aldi opened up, it's just in behind that, on that little street in between that on the main street there. So you can go in. It's up on the 3rd floor as well. Worth going in for a browse. And in particular, those packs of books, the kind of advent calendar of books for children, proven really popular. And what a wonderful way to introduce children to new books and new reading material as well. So definitely worth checking out. Thanks for your text. I'm going to take a little bit of music now before the end of the show. And when it came to playing a bit of music today, I have to take a song from the one and only Mr. Dickie Rock, who sadly passed away yesterday. So here he is singing his Eurovision entry, Come Back to Stay.
My love, I need your touch, I need your love so very much. Since you went away, I cry for you each night and day. The day you went away, I said I didn't mind. Now I know that you have left a broken heart behind. Please come back to stay and promise me you'll never stray. I promise I'll be true and that I'll never make you blue. For no one else can take your place, your smile, your lips, your eyes, your face. Please, darling, oh please, come back to me to stay. Please come back to stay and promise me you'll never stray. I promise that I'll be true and that I'll never make you blue. For no one else can take your place, your smile, your lips, your eyes, your face. Please, darling, oh please, come back to me to stay. Oh, darling, please come back to stay.
You're just listening there to the wonderful voice of Dickie Rock, whose death was announced at the age of 88 just yesterday. May he rest in peace. And just that really brings us to the close of today's stuff as well. A couple of texts that have come in there. One listener has said, great stuff from Kieran, that's Kieran Mullooly. Finally, somebody making noise in Europe instead of Daly and Wallace shouting about the rest of the world's problems. Well done. First time I haven't wasted my vote. That came in from a listener there as well. Somebody else says, good morning, Ronan. I'm so happy that I voted for Kieran Malooly. He's a great voice for Irish farmers. Thank you. That came in from Bernie as well. Another listener says, Ronan, farmers here in Europe have a nerve and arrogance to say the meat industry is better here than anywhere else in the world. Live exports, along with all the injection and doses given to cattle over their lifetime. Kieran Malooly is speaking out of both sides of his mouth, all to keep farmers happy and get their votes. And that came in from Jim and Burr. So, as I said, it's a divisive one. There's different sides to it with everybody. But anyway, thank you all for your text. Thank you for listening. Hopefully your power is on the way back or has been restored. Lorraine McCormick is here next. I'll talk to you all very soon on Midlands 103. Stay safe.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. lumcloonenergy.com. Midlands 103.